And so with that and the projects that have been underway, we'll have opened about 35,000 acres of habitat in the red desert for pronghorn by this summer.
Hey, welcome to another podcast, Wyldlife Foundation podcast. Just recently, we did change the title to the podcast to Echoes of the Tracks. Continuing to do the same stuff, same content. It just kind of associates with mule deer and our mission here at the Wyldlife Foundation. I'm Joey Fagel. I'm once again with Janet Krause and Chris Steffen, the staff of the Wyldlife Foundation. And today we have a special guest, Breanna Ball with the Wyldlife Fund. She's going to talk a little bit about her position, what she does, and of course, everything about the Wyldlife Fund and what is really the main purpose or what all really goes through the Wyldlife Fund. So welcome, Breanna.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Some recent changes with the Wyldlife Fund, but I guess first, just a little bit about what the Wyldlife Fund is and then what's your position there at the organization.
Yeah, so I am the vice president of the Wyldlife Fund. The Wyldlife Fund was founded in 2019 by the Wyoming Game and Fish Commission. We are essentially the nonprofit partner to the Wyoming Game and Fish Department and their commission. We were created to fill in those funding gaps to help get conservation projects funded and make meaningful impacts on the ground for the wildlife in our state. We have 9 folks on our board, and 2 of those are, one of them is the director of the Wyoming Game and Fish Department, Angie Bruce, who serves in an ex officio manner. And then we also have an active commissioner as well, and that's John Masterson. And our board has a lot of different folks from a wide variety of backgrounds, and they are the ones who are helping to drive those decisions that align with the Wyoming Game and Fish Department priorities. And we really focus on the ground conservation work. So 90% of the funds that are generated for the Wyldlife Fund go straight back onto the ground to help fulfill our mission, which is uniting to advance Wyoming's wildlife, habitat, and research. And then 10% goes back to help with overhead and paying our employees. We are a lean and mean team. Right now, I am the sole person at the Wyldlife Fund with our part-time operations manager who's based in Buffalo, and we're actively searching for our president.
All they need is you. That's true. Chris was there. Chris McBarnes, he did a fantastic job, and I'm just glad that you're somewhat filling his shoes right now. But yeah, no, it's a great piece for conservation and I'm sorry you have to put up with John Masterson, but he's a hoot.
He is a hoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris did a phenomenal job at setting up the Wyldlife Fund. I think in 2020, they'd only raised around $500,000. Last year, we raised over $4.4 million, which is extremely impressive for a very small organization. And it's all really thanks to Chris and the work that he did for the fund.
Yeah, I totally agree. He was just top notch. Definitely knew how to reach out to folks and find great projects and know where dollars needed to be spent. And he just worked well with everyone, every organization that really raised funds and contributed to the fund, the Wyldlife Fund. He's doing something he's always wanted to do. Good luck to him on his next path.
I think hopefully we'll be able to recruit him as a board member in the future. That is my hope.
I'm sure you will. You know, we've done quite a few things with the Wyldlife Fund since the beginning. We've partnered with the golf tournament a couple times, raised a lot of dollars for mainly wildlife crossings, but we've also helped contribute money towards other projects as well. But that's been a great partnership with us as far as just putting together wildlife crossings throughout the state. And everyone in this room knows the benefits of having a wildlife crossing and the impact it makes for saving the populations of our wildlife. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of those wildlife crossings that either we've partnered with or even just the Wyldlife Fund has contributed to?
Yeah, thinking about just in reflecting on 2025 and our successes at the Wyldlife Fund, I think a big one was the groundbreaking of the Kemmer Wildlife Crossing in the fall of last year. That will include 7 underpasses and 1 overpass and reduce wildlife vehicle collisions by about 80 to 90%. I think that was just a tremendous success and a collaboration effort right between all of our partners, including you all as well. I'm super proud of that project. Through the Wyldlife Fund, we raised about $1 million to help contribute towards that project and make that federal application a lot stronger as well. So that collaboration, I think, resulted in a $24-ish million grant from the Federal Highway Administration to make that project come to fruition. And we're really proud of the work that all of us did to make that project happen, because it's truly a collaborative, partner-driven process to get those dollars.
As VP now, I guess, what kind of goals or anything that you are looking forward to trying to achieve with Wyldlife Fund with your position? Not only just trying to find a president to be your sidekick, but what are some of the hopes that you have just in 2026 alone?
I think a big thing for me is just continuing to fill in Chris's shoes and his legacy. He has done a phenomenal job with the Wyldlife Fund, and our goal is to just grow it from here and get even more dollars on the ground. We have some really cool projects in the pipeline, especially in the Red Desert area, that have gained a lot of momentum that I'd love to talk about, and to continue that work through this next year to unlock habitat that was once inaccessible to pronghorn in the Red Desert is really a goal of ours at the Wyldlife Fund over the next year.
Awesome. So, yeah, let's talk about that Red Desert project.
Yeah, so if we think back to 2022-23, that harsh winter that we were all experiencing, especially in western Wyoming, we had one of the most severe pronghorn die-offs ever recorded in Wyoming. And that deep snow and harsh conditions, and of course there was some pneumonia as well, those were the immediate triggers that result in the decline of the pronghorn population. But there was actually a study that was led by the University of Wyoming and Hall Sawyer that also showed that human-made barriers dramatically worsen those impacts. And so just through timing, they had actually put on collars before the winter unknowingly, right? No one knew that this winter was going to happen. But that GPS collar data revealed that the pronghorn repeatedly encountered fences and highways during this storm, and that these obstacles slowed their movement, forced animals into deeper snow, and then prevented access to critical winter range for them. And many of these pronghorn died within sight of that suitable habitat that they simply just couldn't reach. And so what we know is that pronghorn rely on their mobility to survive harsh winters, and movement is their primary means to do this. And when fences and roads block that movement, their natural resilience is going to collapse. And that's what we saw. And so this study really underscored that connectivity and permeability, it's not just a luxury, but it's a survival mechanism for these pronghorn. And for most of us on the western side of the state, we saw the effects of the bad winter in combination with those fences, with all of the pronghorn carcasses that were littering all across these highways that we travel across every day.
Probably one of the worst that we may ever see, hopefully the last one that we ever see in our lifetime. But yeah, that was it impacted populations for antelope and mule deer for sure that year. And yeah, the importance of continuing that migration or their paths, whatever they need to do to survive through those winters, is so important for a lot of wildlife. And that's why some of those type of projects are something that we focus on the most as well. Habitat's extremely important, but if those critters struggle to get to those areas, especially in the wintertime and their winter ranges and that, it's important that we fix things so they can get there a little bit easier, less stressful, and they don't use as much energy to get through something, but for any of that blockage.
Yeah, and the research found that areas with wildlife-friendly fences or fewer barriers saw a higher survival rate. And so we've really used this study to provide that scientific justification for scaling up these projects in the Red Desert. And thinking about this area as well historically has been traditionally, sheep producers have been in this area, so there's been a lot of woven wire that exists on these landscapes in the Red Desert. And as we know, woven wire is the most wicked form of fencing. And with that, we've really been able to build momentum with the biologists, with the landowners to get this work done. And what we've seen too over time in this area is that they've been historically sheep producing producers, and now they're all mostly cattle producers. I think there's really only one sheep producer left in that specific area that the study was done. And so there is a lot of momentum to get this work done now that woven wire fencing is no longer needed. The biggest barrier, I think, for landowners is the cost of replacing that fencing. And if you've seen our Unwired documentary, the landowner explicitly states that without the research and without the funding, that this work probably wouldn't have been done, and that they would have kept that fence there because of the costs that it costs to replace woven wire fence to wildlife friendly fencing. And the cost per mile for wildlife friendly fencing is about $25,000.
Everything to do with all those type of projects always has a big dollar sign to it. And like you said, collaborative effort with a lot of organizations and agencies and everything else, it usually works out. Just takes some time. And that's where it's very important to us at Wyldlife Foundation to try and get these things accomplished in the short term instead of having to wait 10 years before something gets accomplished. And organizations like the Wyldlife Fund and that just really make those things happen as well. It's always great to just partner with you guys on these type of projects.
I think I do want to highlight the fact that research within the next year, we had made modifications to a ranch that was identified through that study all within a year, with really taking that data, the collaboration, and getting a project done within 1 year to make a difference for wildlife. And a fence coordinator from the Pinedale region just sent me some maps demonstrating that pronghorn are now utilizing the habitat that was once inaccessible as of this winter. So super impressive. It shows that wildlife friendly fence modification is working. We have tons of projects in the pipeline in this area as well. And so with that and the projects that have been underway, we'll have opened about 35,000 acres of habitat in the red desert for pronghorn by this summer.
That's another key item for us to also continue funding is the research side of things. The University of Wyoming provides a lot of that opportunity with the Wyoming Migration Initiative and the Monte Shop. We've learned so much about the migrations and where these animals travel. And it's critical for us to know and have that knowledge and that data so we can focus on the places that they actually utilize and travel. And we don't spend money in some areas that they don't utilize. It's just a waste. So with the research and what is provided with that, just helps us out to really zone in on those right places and areas.
Yeah, I think that is the key, is the data. And that's what is demonstrated in the Red Desert Fence Initiative as well. Seeing that after those modifications happened, seeing those pronghorn utilize that space and thinking about, we talked about weather earlier as well and climate resiliency, thinking about that bad winter to this winter that we're having right now. It's 47 degrees in Green River compared to just three winters ago when this was basically like Siberia, right?
Yes.
It was under a lot of snow, hard packed snow. We were seeing animals die. Thinking about climate resiliency and how it affects our wildlife populations and ensuring that they have the ability to move through these areas with ease, hopefully to ensure that they last in the future.
I was just going to ask, so, I mean, you obviously are with Wyoming Game and Fish, or you guys work with them. So how do you do your projects? How do you figure out what projects you guys are going to do? What are the steps for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'll give the example of the Red Desert Fence Initiative. So we had the University of Wyoming research completed with Hall Sawyer, and then Jared Merkel also developed a fence prioritization tool. And so the fence coordinator out of the Pinedale office will take both of those tools and overlap them. And it demonstrates the highest priority fences that are creating the most issues for wildlife. And that's what we're going to target first as a priority to ensure that, one, our funds are maximized and making the most impact for wildlife. And then additionally, for other projects, what the department has their kind of strategic priorities. And with Angie Bruce on our board, she's communicating to us what the department's overall priorities are. And that's where we're strategizing to put our dollars on the ground. Right now, a lot of it has to do with habitat improvement. I think we've all have witnessed Angie talk about the importance of habitat across our state, especially for our mule deer populations. And a lot of that work is focused on wildlife-friendly fence modification, conifer removal, habitat improvement, invasive annual grass treatments. And so I think over the next few years with the Wyldlife Fund in tandem with the department, we'll see a lot of our funds going to those types of projects.
So quick question with the mule deer, it's not the initiative anymore. It's now the strategy.
Yeah, the mule deer's conservation strategy.
Are you guys tasked with, because when we received the email that kind of outlined what that's going to look like moving forward, I about fell over when I was doing the math. And I know that, I guess to preface that a little bit, it is in a perfect world where everything was ideal and we had maybe unlimited resources funding wise, and we could make large landscape changes to benefit mule deer. And certainly those same things will benefit other wildlife. Here's what the dollars look like. So have you guys been tasked, or I shouldn't say you guys, have you, girl, been charged with, here's the dollars, see what you can do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I looked at that strategy as well and was like, oh goodness, how are we going to raise millions and millions of dollars to get this work done? And I did talk to Angie a little bit about that. We're not solely tasked with raising millions and millions of dollars, thank goodness. But the way that she framed it to me was that this was a statewide initiative that I think the vision is to bring in a lot of different partners to get this work done, which made me feel a lot better. And I think that although that price tag is pretty high, I think through a collaborative nature, a lot of that work can get done. But it's going to be really about strategy on how we can all unlock federal dollars with private dollars to get some of that work done. But that price tag is pretty high to get some of those projects across the finish line.
Yeah, and it'd be amazing if those type of dollars were available every year. And I guess I'm not saying it's not. It's just, again, strategizing how everybody works together to try to go out and grab a hold of those dollars and start putting it onto the ground and everything else. But maybe you can back up a little bit and just explain, or maybe I had to go deal with the FedEx guy dropping off guns, but maybe I missed this. But as far as the Wyldlife Fund gets funding from where? Maybe you guys could touch on that, because I really think that the Wyldlife Fund is an unknown entity to most folks. I think most sportsmen, even in the state of Wyoming, have no idea, or maybe I'm wrong. We work in this world, so we know you guys very well. And as Joey mentioned, we've sent funding over to fund or help fund a lot of projects, but maybe explain how you guys get most of your funding, where it comes from, and that type of thing.
Yeah, that's a great point. I guess thinking about our goals for 2026 as well. One of our goals is to increase our visibility across the state through some grassroots efforts. So hopefully people can become more familiar with what we do in our role in the conservation space for our state. But we are generating private philanthropic dollars through large foundations, mostly. That's how we're getting most of our funds. So we work with these really large foundations that, for the most part, they're putting dollars on the ground for conservation in other areas of the world, along with the United States. And so we have Chris really built these great relationships with some key foundations across the nation that are helping fund this work in Wyoming. And what I have seen through my experience over the past year with the Wyldlife Fund is that there are folks that just have a lot of passion and cherish the wildlife in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem and in the West, because they know that we're the last stronghold for a lot of these species, and they care deeply about this ecosystem that exists in Wyoming. And so most of it is through private philanthropic dollars. And we're leveraging that against federal dollars, like through the Pooled Migration Fund.
Yeah, so when you go back to your guys' formation in 2019, the Game and Fish Commission at that time, and there was an entity that existed prior to that, had money, sort of, but I certainly didn't go after the dollars and had the success that the Wyldlife Fund has had since inception. The commission at that time saw the value in creating the Wyldlife Fund. It is, in a sense, you guys are a branch of the Game and Fish, no?
I think in a way we are. We are the official nonprofit partner to the Wyoming Game and Fish Department. And so in a way, I think we are, and we're there to help fill in those gaps for projects that need funding. We know that the department is struggling in some ways with their budget. And we know that conservation projects cost a lot of money. And so that's how we fill in that gap to help get some of those projects done through, of course, though, all of the amazing partners across the state as well that are working towards the same goal.
Joey, explain how when we decide we're giving money to the Wyldlife Fund, how does that work?
We just decide, like, this is what makes it real nice and easy. We can provide $1 million check to you and say, leverage these funds to get more funds, or put it towards a wildlife crossing or anywhere you feel it needs to go to make a bigger impact. And it's a lot easier just to do that and provide you guys with those funds so you guys can take that and put it where it needs to be, than us looking over multiple number of project proposals, writing multiple checks here, multiple checks here. Yes, sometimes that has to happen because there's particular projects that are just focused for, just say, mule deer habitat. And it goes through the Wyoming Game and Fish Department or the Forest Service, BLM, whichever it may be. That's just the way it goes. But I like the way it's, okay, there's a wildlife crossing coming up. Should we provide that to WYDOG? Whatever. No, here, Wyldlife Fund, here. Use those dollars, leverage that to quadruple that amount, and then put it towards that wildlife crossing. And that's how it's so nice and it's of ease when we have these amount of funds to give.
Yeah, and I think something that's really important is that our donors, they want to see their dollars maximized as well. And so it's a win-win. We help receive those match dollars. It unlocks those philanthropic dollars, which in turn then unlocks federal dollars in a lot of circumstances, especially with the pooled migration fund. And it's a win-win. I think sometimes with obviously state and federal agencies, there's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape when they receive funds. The Wyldlife Fund can be very nimble. We can write a check the next day to help get work done in a very quick way versus sometimes, unfortunately, our government agencies, they just realistically face that red tape.
Trying to focus on that, focus on our fundraising. It's just multiple things here, especially as a staff of 3. But we take on a lot. So it's always nice to have partners like yourselves to do those things for us. We can come back to that project you just talked about here in a little bit. Is there some other projects that you're zoned in on this year?
Yeah, so through the Pooled Migration Fund, we'll be putting $447,000 on the ground in those key priority areas that the Wyoming Big Game Partnership has identified across the state. So those funds will primarily go in the Sublet, Platte, and Baggs migration corridors, the Absaroka Front, and the Wind River Reservation. And those projects are all going to be habitat improvement projects targeting wildlife-friendly fencing, invasive annual grasses, conifer removal. So super excited to put those dollars on the ground. This is the first year that we have not only supported capacity projects for the Pooled Migration Fund and the Wyoming Big Game Partnership, but also putting money on the ground. And I think what we'll be doing as we progress as an organization is start putting a lot more dollars on the ground for habitat improvement through the Pooled Migration Fund. We've supported historically a lot of those capacity positions that are unlocking those partnerships with landowners to get these voluntary conservation projects done in these priority areas. But I think what we'll start doing is start shifting and putting a lot more dollars on the ground versus just supporting capacity positions.
The reason I will go back to that other project here in a minute. We have an event coming up. It's called the Mule Deer Days in Rock Springs, Wyoming. It's a 3-day vendor show event. Some of the importance of that event is to really educate folks. We bring in a lot of your hunting and outdoor industry vendors, but we also provide booth spots for nonprofit organizations as well, because like I said, that educational piece, it'll help folks learn about other organizations besides ourselves, such as the Wyldlife Fund. And then we also do seminars. And I know you're going to be part of one of those seminars talking about that fencing. But again, this type of event is, we're going to raise a lot of dollars in hopes we do in our plans, raise a lot of dollars to put or allocate dollars to the ground for mule deer conservation. And we really couldn't do a lot of this without the Wyoming Game and Fish Department. They've partnered with us since the beginning. This is our 4th year, and they contribute a lot. Not only do they contribute some funds to support us, and so we can cover a lot of our expenses, but they also have a lot of activities, a lot of things there for the department to educate our attendees. And will it continue like that? I hope so. The Wyldlife Fund will be just another organization to be a huge partner with that. And hopefully we can maybe look into the future on that as partnering together to make this even a larger type of event, a little bit more improvement to it. I think it would be a great partnership. And if the Wyoming Game and Fish can continue, I think those three entities right there just make this very successful. So that is one thing that I hope that we can maybe discuss that in the future and work on that for the following years. But this year, you're going to be part of a seminar to talk about fencing and all that. So I just welcome a lot of folks to attend that so they can learn more about the Wyldlife Fund, the fencing, the migration. The Wyoming Migration Initiative is going to show a film called Unwired, which is all about the pronghorn and fencing. I think it's going to be a great piece to this event. Maybe you can just talk a little bit about what all you guys plan on discussing during this seminar.
Yeah, we actually have a meeting about that presentation on Wednesday. And I'm super excited for folks to be able to see Unwired. I talked about this before, but it's really just demonstrating like the science, the landowner, willingness to participate, the biologist, the funding, all coming together to really form the foundation and the catalyst for the Red Desert Fence Initiative. It's really impactful work. It's easy to understand and grasp, which is why I love this fence initiative and the work that we're doing. It's just a great opportunity for folks to learn about what wildlife fencing does for our wildlife and why it's so important across our landscapes. We know that there are thousands of miles of old fencing that are barriers to wildlife that are migrating across our landscapes. So I'm super excited to be able to showcase that work. Obviously, I am so proud of the work that we do, but it's really the folks on the ground that are doing that work. I just get to help and support this work, but I'm still really proud of the role the Wyldlife Fund has in supporting the on-the-ground work that is happening across our state.
I'm hoping the attendance for that seminar is really a majority of landowners in my mind, because then they can learn more of how they can help out, how they can partner with the Wyldlife Fund or the Wyoming Game and Fish, whoever it may be, for this wildlife-friendly fencing and how they can be a huge part of these type of projects. And then, of course, we definitely need volunteers for those type of projects and everything else, and that would be just a way of showing folks of how they can be part of that and what they need to do and all that sort. But we're looking forward to that. I'm glad that you're going to be with Patrick with the WMI, Wyoming Migration Initiative. I think that's going to be probably one of the top seminars that we have. I look forward to hopefully being able to attend it. Yeah, I think it's just perfect. And we're looking forward to this event. It's going to be a fantastic event. We have a lot more nonprofit organizations, conservation organizations this year, and we actually have a section committed to conservation. We're calling it the Conservation Alley, where all of them are together. That way folks can go from one organization to the other and learn each one as they go, so they don't have to be all spread out and jump around. But yeah, I'm really excited about this event, and it's serious. I think it'd be a great partnership in the future. So hopefully you can consider doing something like that.
It's one of my favorite events and has been since I was with the Wyoming Game and Fish Department as well, previously to being with the Wyldlife Fund. And conservation is all about collaboration. And it's also just great to see all of our partners in one space talking about the work that we do and the ways that we collaborate to get this work done.
So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So on the funding side, if there was someone that just the regular sportsmen's and they wanted to donate to the Wyldlife Fund, is there a way to do that?
Absolutely. Through our website or by simply writing a check to the Wyldlife Fund. We do adhere to donors' wishes if they wish for their dollars to go to a very specific cause versus just helping with general funds and then allowing us to figure out where those funds need to go. So super easy way. Something that we've also been doing a lot more recently, I think there's been a lot more traction, is legacy giving and like estate planning. And so like recently we had a retired game and fish biologist out of Northeast Wyoming, through his estate planning, donate $50,000 to the Wyldlife Fund. And we're starting to see that a lot more. So through simply writing a check or also doing legacy planning and stating that they want some of those funds to go to the Wyldlife Fund is a great way to give back to conservation in our state. Could talk a little bit about, we've been talking a lot about collaboration, but the Pooled Migration Fund, which is one of the core programs that we have at the fund, and what that is. So the Pooled Migration Fund is a collaborative multi-partner funding mechanism that's designed to accelerate habitat improvements in Wyoming's most important big game migration corridors. So what we do is leverage those private philanthropic dollars to unlock federal dollars. And what we're really doing there is multiplying those donated dollars significantly to maximize impact. And so we all know, and most people know, that Wyoming hosts some of the longest, most iconic ungulate migrations in North America. But these routes are facing a lot of increasing pressure from development, fencing, invasive species, and of course, climate extremes as well. And so these federal programs that support migration work are often really competitive. They're unpredictable and vulnerable, as we know, to political shifts. And so the PMF really provides that stable, diversified funding stream to help get these projects across the finish line. So we take those private donations and we hold them in the pooled fund. And then these dollars are used to match and unlock federal dollars from the USDA programs like NRCS and the FSA. And so these funds support projects across different land jurisdictions, ensuring that connectivity across our landscapes are not just, they're being enhanced and improved to ensure the future longevity of our migrating wildlife. And so the work that is being done with these funds is all related to that on-the-ground habitat improvement, so wildlife-friendly fencing, invasive annual grass treatments, this conifer removal, conservation easements, habitat leasing, and then, of course, supporting those boots-on-the-ground staff who are working directly with landowners to figure out how to get enrolled in these programs. And that has been really key because it's been reducing financial barriers for these landowners to become involved with voluntary conservation projects across their state.
Hopefully, our plan works out well with this event coming up. We're hoping we can put a large chunk of dollars on the ground in that. So we will definitely have to hook up afterwards so we can try and talk about some of those.
There are always projects in the pipeline.
Yes. We've worked with just you individually with the Game and Fish with this event as well. And then you've moved to the Wyldlife Fund. How's the position going?
I miss Game and Fish. I really enjoyed what I was doing there. I previously was the public information officer, and I enjoyed that a lot. And I left due to personal reasons with my husband transitioning to the western side of the state. And so I had an opportunity to leave Cheyenne and go to Cora, so I took it. I think anyone would as well, and found myself with the Wyldlife Fund. And it's been a really fun transition. With Chris being gone, it's been a lot, but it's been really great. A lot of my focus has just been ensuring that our partnerships are in good spots, that the work that we committed to funding previously will continue over the finish line. And it's been challenging in a lot of different ways to go from being with a government agency to now focusing on fundraising.
I think they found a perfect person for that position. In my mind, he could be the president.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's been great working with you throughout the whole time. So what's the qualifications for the president position?
That's a great question. I think a background in fundraising and the nonprofit world is going to be key. I think something else that's really key, though, is having a good understanding of conservation in our state and our big game populations and how all of that functions. But that time period to apply has already closed. They will.
No, neither one of you are applying.
So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing who that person may be.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it too.
Did you apply?
I did apply.
Okay.
Do we get to put our vote in the hat then?
Yeah, you can let our board president, Mark, know that.
We can talk to Mark. We have to talk to John too.
And John, yeah.
I don't know if I can deal with that. You'd have
Poor
100
John.
questions for myself. Yeah, no, John's a great guy. Really enjoy being at the commission meetings. He's always got something. It never ends without John finishing something off with a question or something. Anything else that you want to provide about the Wyldlife Fund or anything else?
I don't think so. Looking forward to Mule Deer Days and presenting about the work that we do with the folks that make that work possible. I'd encourage folks to watch the Unwired documentary. We'll be showing it during our presentation at Mule Deer Days, but it's also available on YouTube. And if folks do want to support the Wyldlife Fund, it is easy to donate on our website.
That's
So-
awesome.
On a lighter note, how is Cora? Are you settling in? What are your plans for future?
Yeah, Cora is amazing. And I look out into the Wind Rivers from my deck, and that view serves as my drive for the work that I do. I think every day I get to see moose, deer, pronghorn, eagles, golden eagles, and it's just a reminder to me to continue working hard and serving the state of Wyoming to conserve our wildlife. I'm not from here. I'm from California. I know a lot of people will hate on that. I know.
Let's wrap this up right now.
And I used to be so afraid to say that, but I love this state and I don't ever intend on leaving. I want to start a family here and I want my kids to experience what I get to experience every day, to be able to not only see amazing wildlife, but also go out in our backyard and hunt for elk and deer. We live in an amazing place to do that, and that serves as my inspiration for the work that I'm doing here in the state.
Did you hunt while you were in California or anything?
I started to. I think if we think about the R3 model with hunting, how to get women hunting. So I started with backpacking, and then from backpacking up in the Sierra Nevada range, it's beautiful up there, started fishing. From fishing, I went to fly fishing. From fly fishing, I went to duck hunting. I think that's a really great entryway into hunting because it's low stakes. You can miss. It's a lot of fun. Started duck hunting with my husband and his friends. I was the only girl that wanted to go out and do it, wake up early and sit in the freezing cold. What I thought at the time was freezing cold. Now I don't think that. I'm like, I could sit out and duck hunt in California every day. And then from there, I went on a hunt with my husband and his friend. They graciously allowed me to go and tag along, and that's how I started getting into the conservation field. We came out to fly fish in Wyoming, in western Wyoming. We're in Pinedale. We're fly fishing. We knew we wanted to leave California to get better access to hunting and fishing and land. Came out, fly fished. I looked at my husband and I was like, I think Wyoming's the place that I want to move to. And I'm thinking the same thing. And 6 months later, we moved to Wyoming and we never looked back.
Yeah, Wyoming's a special place for sure. Everything that you just mentioned, it's a perfect fit where you're at right now, except for the duck hunt. But yeah, definitely great places to fly fish and great places to hunt. And even if you don't hunt and you just love the outdoors and wildlife, Wyoming's that special place for that. And that's why a lot of us, it's dear to our heart with the conservation efforts. We want to continue that, keep it. We want to keep our public lands. And Wyoming people definitely fight for all that. And that's why it's a great state. But I don't want to encourage other Californians to come here.
No, we're all full now.
Yeah, we're filled up. Breanna took the last available spot for California.
Yeah, I know. We like to also say Wyoming doesn't exist to other people now.
Yeah. It is a great place. But Breanna, thank you. You guys have anything else for Breanna?
Do you get the pleasure of spending any time in Cheyenne in the next 4 weeks?
I do not, thankfully. So the Wyldlife Fund, we're a 501c3. We don't do any advocacy work, which is why I really enjoy working for the Wyldlife Fund. I give kudos to our friends like Jess Johnson and at the Wyoming Wildlife Federation and the amazing work that they do. But our organization is projects driven, which means I get to stay away from Cheyenne over the next few weeks during legislative session. What bills are you currently tracking right now?
The landowner transferable licenses is a big one. And then with that, the cap on those landowner licenses is a big one.
It's really not too heavy right now, which would be in a budget session. There's not too many there, but we all know how that rolls. We're going to focus where it needs to be focused, but our main goal is just to continue to raise the amount of funds that we need, support some of the projects that we already have lined up. And Mule Deer Days is one of those events that we're hoping we can pull a good chunk of that out. If anybody's interested in attending that event, it is, again, March 13th through the 15th, Rock Springs, Wyoming, Sweetwater Events Complex. A huge lineup of vendors, over 40 vendors will be there. We have a couple of evening events and the seminars, but there's a huge raffle there that's going to be the key item to raise those dollars that we need, and hopefully we can get big attendance at this event and everybody participates in that raffle. It's pretty cool, so looking forward to it.
Are you talking about the 100-gun raffle?
It's called the Drop Time Raffle. We have 20 just general great prizes, hunts, trips, gear packages, some great items that, you can do as a family or just solo or bring your buddy, but 20 great prizes there. And then in addition to that raffle, we have 10 top firearms, Gunworks, Seekins Precisions, and our Weatherby Mark Vs. It all values over $190,000 worth of items. And we're offering some great raffle packages that you can have. And you can buy a package that gives you 125 chances at those 20 prizes and 10 gun tickets. You spend $300 on that. It's a over $1,000 value of raffle tickets. We're not asking for a whole lot. When you spend $300, you're going to get the bang for your buck and have a good chance of winning some awesome prizes. So hopefully it all works out the way we have it planned out. We're working hard every day to make it work, and our vendor spots are full. We're completely sold out. Our seminar is all lined up. We have a huge 75-plus silent auction, and that's going to be available online as well. It's all digital, but we'd rather have folks come by and see all these cool items. Some of these items are products from the vendors themselves that are attending this event. 2 great evening events, like I mentioned. Eastman's, they're going to participate in our Saturday night event, showcase some films, and it's going to be like a meet and greet. It's going to be a great event. And I really hope that not only Wyoming folks can come, our surrounding states, a lot of attendees come from them as well. So it's going to be, I'm excited about it. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm pretty pumped about it.
I'm hoping to win a gun this year. Every year I never win. So maybe it'll be my lucky year.
Here we go. Are you in on the gun calendars?
No.
Oh, well, you're not going to win then. I'll tell you that. If you want to win a firearm, those 10 are top notch. Those are ones that you definitely want to win. And Chris could probably speak for them because they're definitely high quality rifles.
Yeah, they are.
So make sure you get some gun tickets at least.
Oh, I will be.
Yeah, you can buy those separately too. When you see some of the trips, there's a ladies package in those 20 items. I definitely could care less if I want it, but I guess if I want it, I can give it to my wife.
What makes it so special?
Oh, $500 Amazon gift card and a few other things. It's
Got a
valued
trip.
over, it's valued over $12,000 too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and there's a hunting package that's valued over $12,000. We have a Vortex optic package that's around, I think it's $8,000 in value. Yeah, there's some cool stuff.
Very cool.
Great hunts, a diversity of hunts. Got Axis buck hunts in Texas. We have a Sun Africa Safaris hunt. We have a Wyoming Commissioner's license in there. We have a Governor's Bison's license in there. An array of trips and hunting trips.
And I will throw out that it is online right now on our website that you can
So
get tickets.
if you're from New York and don't want to fly out here, you can still participate in it. We'd love to have you fly in here just to meet everybody and see what's going on and all about it in person. A lot better in person. Breanna, again, thank you for coming down and visiting with us, and looking forward to continuing our partnership and getting shit done.
I enjoy getting shit done with all of you guys as well. No, but really, I always appreciate talking to you guys and seeing you all. Conservation is all about collaboration, and our partnership and relationship is, I think, exemplary of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell people, if people work together, we get more things done quicker. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, if you want to learn more about the Wyldlife Fund, you go to thewyldlifefund.org. And you go to muleyfanag.org, learn a bunch of the things that we do as well. And for this event, you go to muledeerdays.org as well. So thank you again, Breanna. Appreciate it.
Thank you.